Well, today we're going to have one of our own come, and a while back when Canfield told me that he had a little something that he'd like to do for our group at some point, so today he's getting that opportunity. So I'm just going to let him take it from here. Don't worry about that camera in the background back there. That's just something that Jonathan's working on, so nobody, I don't think, will be asked to be on for any particular reason. Okay? All right, come on up.
Some time ago, I saw an article in a magazine that kind of got my attention. The idea of the article that the writer expressed was people don't entertain themselves at the family groups anymore. And the more I read of that, the more I realized, well, that's true. We have so much television, we have so many electronic games, we have everything except family entertainment. They went on to mention that there was a time before television that people would entertain in their parlor. And they had parlor games, parlor tricks. And I thought, parlor? I don't have a parlor in my house. And then I walked down the aisle, down the hall here, and I see a sign that says parlor. The church has a parlor. Well, my grandmother had a parlor, I remember that. But in the course of this article, they began to tell about some of the things that people used to do that they don't do anymore. They mentioned some of the parlor games, pass the scissors. There's so many parlor games that you might even remember some of them. But my ship comes in loaded with, and then you had to pass the word around what the ship had, and eventually they got around to saying, and people had card tricks. Well, that caught my attention because I remembered when I was about 12 years old, you got to remember that's over 75 years ago, that my dad taught me some card tricks. I said, I still believe I remember those. And as they described some of the card tricks in this article, they pointed out the fact that most card tricks at that time was designed to be passed around on just a table, and the family group would gather around the table. It wasn't something for a whole big group. As I thought about that, I said, well, there should be some way to show a card trick to a group instead of just gathering around a table. So with the help of my son Ron and I, we made a little board. And this is designed that I'm going to be able to put some cards vertically on here, and hopefully you'll be able to see them. And when we made this up, I decided it ought to have a name on it, so I called it Winton the Wizard. And then I got to think, what is a wizard? I don't even know what a wizard is. So I went to the dictionary, and the very first thing that I saw was a magician. I said, no, I'm not a magician. And I was about to change that when I went to another dictionary, and it said, a very clever person. I'll buy that. So you keep that in mind. That's the definition of a wizard. And I hope when I get through, you'll agree that it applies. Now, I'm watching and I'm seeing that some of you are still finishing your last few bites of your dessert. Most of the card tricks I'd like to do would be involved in this, but I'm going to do one on the table over here. It's not something that you need to see all the cards, but you will recognize what's going on when I do this. I got to find a deck of cards somewhere. I've got a deck of cards somewhere, but we changed it a while ago. Well, Jonathan, I lost my card. Somewhere I had a deck of cards in my pocket, but I'm checking all. I found them. I knew I had a deck of cards somewhere. Now these cards are, the new cards today are plastic, and they're kind of hard to deal with, but I hope I can handle them. These are just an ordinary deck of cards, nothing special about them. I'm gonna step over here to this table. Andre, you look like a good. Now every card trick that I've ever done requires some assistance by somebody in the audience. So expect me to ask you to help me today. I'm going to deal out some cards here. Okay. Andre, you can see all those cards. Everybody else doesn't need to see them. But what I want you to do is pick one card. Remember what it is. I want you to show it to everybody in this room. Then I want you to put it right back where you got it. And then I want you to push all these cards back together. So I can't tell that you've disturbed any one of these rows of cards. Now, I'm going to turn my back, close my eyes. You pick a card, show it to everybody in this room, and put it back where you got it. And then push all those up so there's 3 stacks there. Tell me when you've done that. Okay. You got to push back up into 3 stacks, right? All right. Now let me make sure. You picked a card. You remember it. You put it back where you got it. And now you've made 3 stacks.
Right.
Okay. And you showed it to everybody in this room.
Right.
Well, you didn't show it to me. That means I've got to find that card. Right. So you're going to have to tell me something about it. Tell me which one of these stacks your card's in. Just tell me.
Middle.
The middle. Oh, okay. That's all I need to know. I'm going to deal these cards out again. Now you remember which card you had. See, it's not important that the rest of you know what I'm doing with these cards, because Andre has already selected one card and everybody knows what it is except me. All right, now, all I want you to do is see your card there and push those back up into a stack so you don't indicate in any way to me what card it is. So when you see your card, push all those back into a stack. Okay, I'm going to turn my back and let you do that. Okay. I'll ask you again, which stack is your card in?
Middle.
Middle one again, okay. Let's deal these out one more time. You still remember the card?
Yes.
All right. Now, for the last time, I want you to do the same thing. Pick out your card and then push them together.
All right.
I forgot to ask you, tell me which stack it's in.
Third.
This one?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I forgot to ask you, do you think this is a clever trick?
So far.
If I can find that card, do you think it would be called a clever trick?
Yes.
All right. Let's spell out clever trick. Everybody here, spell it out with me. C-L-E-V-E-R-T-R-I-C-K. Is that your card? Yep. He says that's his card. I keep losing my cards. Andre, since you're so helpful there, take those cards and shuffle them. We're going to use the same cards we just did. For what I'm being paid to entertain you folks, I can't afford but one deck of cards. Shuffle them good. Leave some spots on them. Don't take all the spots off. Now count me out 20 cards. Count out 20 cards. Give me those 20. I'm going to step over here to the wizard board, and I'm going to add these cards. I'm going to just pair them together. Nobody's seen these cards. I hope they'll stick on here. I haven't tried this too well. I'm just going to put some pairs on here, 2 cards at a time. I don't put them in any particular place. They just try to stick them on these clips that we've got here. Now, as I told you, every time you do a card trick, someone from the audience has got to help. I'm going to need some people here, and my time is running short, so we're going to have to do this now. I want somebody to come up here and pick up a pair of these cards. Just anybody, quickly. Anybody, come on. Somebody come up here. Thank you, Lucille. Now, you pick a pair, any pair there. But now let me first tell you, keep it hidden. I'm going to turn my back, close my eyes. I want you to show those cards to everybody. Now, also, because cards are hard to remember, I'm going to ask you to show them to one particular person and ask that person to help you remember which ones they are. We're going to come back to you later on. You're going to recognize them. So you pick up any pair of these. Show it to everybody, both of them there, but tell one person to help you remember what they are. I'm going to turn my back and close my eyes, and you can pick any pair that's on there, and then show them to everybody in the room. Go ahead. Brad, yes. I need your help. Would you come up here just a minute? Okay. You hold on to them if you've already shown them to everybody. Have you shown them to everybody? Show them to everybody that's here. Tell me when you've shown them to everybody. Are you through?
Did you say 2 pairs or 1 pair?
Just 1 pair. Each stack there has 2 cards in it.
Okay. No, you got it. Just show them. Let's see what you got.
All right, now Lucille, have you shown them to everybody?
Okay. Does she put them back?
No. She's going to give them to you. Can I turn around? Now.
She She hadn't looked at them yet. Can she look at
Oh,
them?
she has to remember them.
Okay, you gotta remember them too.
She's going to be asked to identify them later on.
And then she gives them to me?
Now, she gives them to you.
Okay,
Have you got them?
I got them.
All right, let me just tell you. You just hold your hand here because we're going to make a deck out of these. Thank you, Lucille. I'll get to you again. Someone else. Come on, somebody quickly. Come pick up another pair of cards. Thank you, Doyle. Take any pair, show them to everybody here, look at them yourself, and I'm just saying, to make sure that you don't forget them, ask one other person to help you remember them, and then when you get through, put them in his hand. And Brad, don't mix them up or anything, just put one right on top of it. Now you help yourself, get any pair on there. Tell me when you've done what I said.
Anybody here that's not old timers?
Tell me when you're through. You got them, Brad? Yes. All right. Now I'd like one more person at least to really make this trick good. Somebody else come up and pick up. Time's wasted. All right, Sybil. Pick any pair on there. Show them to everybody. And eventually get them back here to Brad. Got it? All right. Now, because it's taken up so much time, I'm not going to ask somebody else. Now, Brad, what I want you to do is I want you to take the rest of these cards off of the board. Put them on your stack. Now, I don't care if you put them under or on top, how you do them, just don't mix them up. Take a pair off here and
Put them on or under?
Put them on top or on the bottom, whatever you want to do with them.
Okay.
Take them all off of there. We could have done this and had 6 or 8 people pick. All right, I'll take the cards. I appreciate this. If I can't trust the staff member, I don't know who I can trust. Brad, if you've got any announcements you need to make, do it now. I'm going to put these back on the board, expose these cards, and just scatter them all over the board. And while I'm doing that, if you've got some announcements, go ahead and make them.
I'll make them. Okay. Next Wednesday night, Fall Festival's going on. It's going to be over in our children's building. You're certainly welcome to come. We're going to have hamburgers, I believe, and hot dogs and things that will be served right outside under the tent area. And then they're going to have some blow-up games and things. It's always a fun time just to come and watch the kids. You know, they're of course all dressed up, and there's a lot of fun games for them. So if it's hopefully it'll be a pretty evening, and you wouldn't mind slipping up here and enjoying that. The next thing is Monday. November 2nd is our next lunch bunch. We're going to be going over to Lufkin to the Roadhouse, Logan's Roadhouse. The steak place is real good. We tried before. And then finally, our next big thing that would come up that takes the place, of course, of the banquet. Of this is our Thanksgiving banquet, which will be on the 22nd of November this year. And we've got a really good or enjoyable meal, of course, but then also the program afterwards. You're going to see it in the bulletin when it comes out, but it's Steve Hart's downtown has a kind of a group that they put on a medicine show, and they've got a little kind of folk music and stuff, and it'll be a very entertaining, fun evening, and that's going to be back in the sanctuary. So just making you all aware of those things. Okay, Whitney? Are you close?
Not quite. I'm still.
When is the SFA date that we choose?
Oh, the question on the SFA, it's called Samaritan's Feet. That's a basketball event, and that's also that information will be in the focus that comes out. But I believe it's the Saturday before the 21st. If I remember right. Andrew, is that?
The 22nd is Sunday.
Yes.
So it'll be the 21st.
I believe it's the big one.
Tell us about Maggie. What do you know about her?
So I asked, the question was about Maggie. Tell us about Maggie. Of course, she had fallen and broke her elbow, I believe, and then I think just banged up other than that. Wasn't it? Or was it nailed? Yeah, she's in her head. And so she is, of course, is recovering, and it just, takes time to slow go. But that's what's going on with her.
And when she hit her head, she had a concussion, but it didn't show up until the next day or so, and she was so busy, she couldn't stand up.
Okay.
So she's been slowly recovering.
Okay. Appreciate you telling us that. So we definitely need to be in prayer for her, and certainly for, both of them, as they're working. All right.
All right, I've scattered these around, and I don't even know what these cards represent. I couldn't remember where they are. But we're going to see if I can come up with something by asking you. Let's see, Lucille, I believe you picked up a pair here. Somewhere on this board, on one of these rows across here, both of your cards will appear. Now, it may be the same row, or maybe a different row. Oh, isn't that clever? If it's not in the same row, they've got to be in a different rows. All right. You look, recognize your two cards. Now I want you to tell me which row or rows your two cards are in. This one and this one. All right, now concentrate on those cards, because I'm hoping I can find those cards by the way you concentrate on them. Right now, are you really thinking about those cards? It looks to me like you're thinking about these cards. Is that the cards? Was that the cards that you were thinking about? Yes. Okay. Now, Doyle, did you pick yours out up here? If I get one right, I've done pretty good. Now,
Gosh, mine's not up there.
now we know that's not right, because Brad took care of all of these. Now just tell me if it's first, second, third, or fourth row.
Okay, one of them is in row 3, column 1.
No, don't tell me the column, just the row. Just the row across here.
Well, you know where one of them is.
Well, maybe.
And where's the other? The other one is in row 4.
Row 4. Row 3 and 4. All right. Okay, you can sit down. I'm going to study this a little bit, because I'm not sure that myself where you... However, I want you to concentrate on this, because that's what makes me know which ones they are. Well, Doyle, I'm going to guess that you're thinking about this one and this one.
Yes.
Is that the two cards you thought of?
Yes.
Well, good. Now I got 2 out of 3. I'm doing good. I don't usually do that good. All right, Sybil, I believe you had the other one, did you?
First row and third.
Row 1 and row 4? 1 and 3. All right. Are you thinking about it? Concentrate on it now. Sybil, now don't think about getting another dessert over there. Think about these cards. There's no dessert up here on this board. All right, you said first and third, didn't you? All right. I kind of think you're thinking about these cards right here. Would that be the ones you're thinking about? Good. Hey, that's 3 out of 3. Time's a wasting, but I would like to run one more. Well, I've got to. Let me run over time just a little bit, because I have to finish with a grand finale. Every act has to have a grand finale. But I would like to do one more trick for you. I would like a man and a lady to help me with this. It doesn't have to be a couple. Just any man and any lady that's willing to help me, if I can get this box open and get the cards out. And I'd like for you to come right up here to this table. We're going to do this on the table. Don't be bashful now. Give me a man and a lady to come up here and... Okay, it doesn't have to be a couple, but that's all right if it is a couple. All right, this is just an ordinary deck of cards. Nothing special about them. They're just an ordinary deck of cards. I'm going to divide these up. I'll give you, they're pretty close to even. Now, I want you to spread those apart. Well, first we'll let Roy do it. You spread yours apart and let her, and keep them face down, by the way. Keep them face down. Let her draw one out of your pack there. You draw one card out of his. They're just...
Should you look at it?
No, not yet. Now, put it on top of your stack right there. Right there. Now, there's a reason for you putting it on the top there. You're going to let him draw one out of yours, and you don't want him to get that top card. So, make sure that he doesn't get that top card. You take one card of hers. Now, you put it on top of your stack. Now, push them together. You put your stack over here on the table. We'll get to you later. Yours. Roy, put yours down there. Now, you have his card on the top of your stack, right? Now, I'm going to turn my back, close my eyes. I want you to look at that card, remember it, and show it to everybody in this room. All right? Okay, just look at the top card. Tell me when you've done it. You put it back on the top? All right. I didn't think to ask you, are you right-handed or left-handed? Left-handed. All right. Did you know it's been told that a lady's dominant hand is warmer than the other hand? Now, if that's true, I want you to take your left hand, put it on that deck of cards, press hard. I want you to put the whole palm of your hand on there. Now that's what we want. And we're going to do that for, let's say, a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, take those cards and shuffle them. Mix them up real good. Mix them up real good. Shuffle them any way you want to. Don't let me see them. You just shuffle them up. Mix them up right now. Now, when you've mixed them up, I hope we do this fast enough. Now, I want you to spread those out on this table. I'm going to have to try to find that card. Just spread them out on the table. Now, I'm going to rub my hand across here because I should be able to feel somewhere, but you know, I don't feel a thing. I don't feel a thing. I should be able to feel something. I don't know why. It feels like there's something right there, but no. Well, the wizard's not always correct on all of these, but I do not detect the card that you pressed your hand against. That surprises me. Let me go over it once more. I'll go over it once. Is that your card? Whew! I like never found that one. Okay. Roy, you're next. Take your deck of cards there. Now, I didn't ask you, but are you right or left-handed?
I'm right.
You're what?
Right-handed.
Right-handed, okay. Now, did you know that they say that a man's dominant hand is colder than a woman's? So, most men can say, well, their wife can explain that to them, that their hand is colder. All right, I want you to, have you looked at that card? No? Okay. I want you to look at that card, show it to everybody here, put it right back on top. Okay. You got it?
Yes.
All right. Now, because you say you're right-handed, I want you to put your right hand on there and press down hard. But I believe with you, I've got to count to at least a 5 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, you take those and shuffle those cards so that that card is mixed in with the rest of them. Just and when you've got them well mixed, let me know.
Okay.
All right, take your deck of cards and fan them out there like, there we go. Now, I can generally tell this by the back of my hand for a man's group. There it is right there.
Oh my God.
That's it? He says that's his card. All right, my time is running short. I always feel like I need a grand finale. All right, this is going to be a I don't know where you were raised or how you were raised, but there was a time. That's exactly what I'm going to point out. That's exactly what I'm going to point out. Many people were raised that there was something sinister about a deck of cards, and I have to confess, both my grandmothers, would not allow a deck of cards in their house. Now, my brother and I and our friends, we could play with cards all day long, but we couldn't bring them in the house. We had to be out on the front porch. Okay, maybe you're familiar with that particular restriction in a lot of homes. Well, during World War II, Tex Ritter, the old Western singer and actor and whatever he was, he tried to remove that stigma from cards. He came out with it wasn't necessarily a song, it was more of a recitation called A Deck of Cards. He tried to remove the evil spirit that people had of a deck of cards. This story that he told was involving a soldier at camp during World War II. He told the story, and he always ended that story with, and I know that story is true because I was that soldier. Well, the news media began to question that, and they got him to the point that he had to admit, no, he really wasn't that soldier. So he made another recording of that, and he says, I know that story is true because I knew that soldier. Well, the people accepted that. I suppose you've probably heard this story several times. I'd like to repeat that story to you today, explain it a little bit. I have taken the liberty to tell the story and enhance it a little bit so it's a little more entertaining to you. And the story goes like this, that a group of soldiers were returning from a long hike. They got back to camp, and as they were being dispersed, they were told to freshen up, assemble in the chapel, the chaplain was going to hold services because this was Sunday. So they began to assemble in the chapel. And the first thing the chaplain did was he said, if you have your Bible or if you have your prayer book, get it out. Well, one soldier back over in the corner took out his deck of cards, and he was dealing out the cards on the bench beside him. And a big rough sergeant came over and says, "Put those cards away." Well, he didn't respond. He said, "I told you to put those cards away." He still didn't respond. So he said, "Come with me." So he said, "I'm taking you to the provost marshal. He's the highest ranked officer on the base." He took him in and he told the officer, he says, "This man was playing with his cards in the chapel." The officer says, "Son, if that's true, I'll punish you worse than you've ever been punished before." The soldier says, "Well, sir, my deck of cards means an awful lot to me." He says, "They're really just a ordinary deck of cards. There's nothing special about them. But he says, they mean an awful lot to me. And I'd like to explain to you why I had them." The officer says, "Well, I wish you would." So the boy says, "Well, let me just take a few of these cards." He said, "When I was growing up, I didn't get a good education. I can't count too well, can't spell too well, but I did go to church. I went to First Baptist Church, and they taught me a lot about the Bible." He said, I'd like to explain that to you." He says, "If I take these cards and I say A, C, E," he says, "I see 1. That reminds me that there's one God, and only one God in heaven. And if I spell T, W, O, I see a 2. And that reminds me that the Bible is divided into 2 sections, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And then, sir, if I count T, H, R, E, E, I see a 3. He said, that reminds me of the Trinity. There's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But it also reminds me of the 3 wise men that came to worship Jesus at his birth. Well, no, the Bible doesn't say that there was 3 wise men. It does say that there was 3 gifts. There was gold, frankincense, and myrrh. So if a different king brought each one of those gifts, there were 3. There might have been more, but I think that there was at least 3. Now, he said, if I spell F-O-U-R, I see a 4. I'm reminded of the 4 evangelists that wrote about the life of Jesus when he was on this earth. There was Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And then if I spell F-I-V-E, I see a 5. Now that reminds me of the 5 virgins that were invited to the marriage supper. Well, yes, sir, there were 10. There were 10 virgins, all right. The Bible tells us that. But 5 of them didn't bring enough oil for their lamps. And I think of the 5 wise ones that did bring enough oil for their lamps. And that's what this reminds me of. Then, if I spell S-I-X, I see a 6. The Bible reminds me that God created this entire world in 6 days. Now, what could be created, he created. And then if I spell S-E-V-E-N, N, I see a 7. Well, I remember that the Bible says that after all that creating, God rested on the seventh day. And then if I spell E, I, G, H, T, I see an 8. After all that creating, God looked down and saw how evil his creation had become, and he decided, I've got to destroy them. So he planned to send a flood, but he chose to save 8 people. There was Noah and his wife, their 3 sons, and their 3 wives. That's the only 8 people that God saved. Then if I spell N, I, N, E, I see a 9. I'm reminded that there was 9 lepers that Jesus healed. There was 9 men that, that was a terrible disease, leprosy in those days. Well, yes, sir, there were 10. You're right, there were 10. But 1 came back to thank Jesus for his healing. The other 9 did not. Now, if I spell T, E, N, I see a 10. And I'm amazed that God could write on a stone tablet the 10 commandments. Yes, sir, they were commandments. They weren't suggestions. They were commandments. The Bible tells us they were commandments. Then if I spell K, I, N, G, I see a king. I'm reminded that Jesus is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Then if I spell Q, U, E, E, N, I see a queen. Now I think about that and think, surely that sweet lady Mary, the mother of Jesus, was the queen of heaven. And that, sir, leaves me only with the jack or knave. And every time I see him, I think of the devil, the old Satan himself. But that's not all. If I count all the spots on my deck of cards, I count 365. That's the number of days in a year. And if I look at all the face cards, there's 12 face cards. That's the number of months in a year. And my whole deck consists of 52 cards. That's the number of weeks in a year. And then if I look and say, well, there's 4 suits, hearts, diamonds, clubs, spades. That's the 4 seasons that God granted for us to enjoy. So you see, sir, my deck of cards helped me to spell. It helped me to count. It reminds me of my Bible. And it's my almanac and my calendar. So really, sir, I don't think I did anything wrong to have my cards in the chapel. The officer stood up and says, and neither do I. All charges dismissed. Now my time is up. I'm sorry I run over time, but I appreciate your kind attention, and Brad, we'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Winton. I just have one question. Did you practice all this on Ruby?
Let me tell you one thing. Now let me tell you, to answer your question, I'll take this. I know 2 or 3 more tricks. If I'd had time, I'd done. But I tried to practice one on her just last night. One that I was planning to do today. And I said, no, that's too complicated. So I changed my mind and substituted another one. Okay, I answered your question.
Well, see, you never know what talents we have in amongst us. business. But no, we do appreciate your willingness to share. Like I said, a while back when it said, I've got something I'd like to do sometime. And so this was a very entertaining event. And I appreciate you taking the time to do it. Because especially this last one, I think that was very interesting to go through. Never knew that about that car. So y'all,
I'm sorry.
so pretty good. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for being here and bringing. And just y'all have a great afternoon. And we'll see you next Sunday.
I always enjoy seeing what else you can do.
Oh, there's not too many things I can do.
Yes, you do. You come up with a lot of things.
Thank you, Jonathan. Unwire me. Unwire me.
Thank you, Winston, for coming. That was so neat.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I loved it.
Well, I'm glad you
Of course,
liked
I
it.
don't play cards, but I liked the last one that you said. I had heard that one before.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for doing it.
Well, thank you. Okay, Jonathan.
Okay.
What do we do?
Pull this out next. That was neat.
Did you like that?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know how well I would come through.
Oh,
This 88-year-old voice didn't carry too well.
oh yeah. This will be good for everybody though. Everybody who couldn't make it. That was very
And I
good.
appreciate you. This worked out just great.
Good.
I came in here and saw this, and I said, "Oh, you can't beat what Jonathan did." It worked out good.
Good.
I came prepared to clip it on with those, but I didn't need it. See?
Yeah.
This one, just
It's
perfect.
a good size. So you and Dad made that, or
Yeah.
came up with that?
Your dad helped me put all these clips on here.
Yeah.
And I designed it to cover the tricks that I was going to do.
That's neat.
Well, we'll just get rid of all of these.
I'll be right back.
I'll separate all these at home.
Oh yeah.
For not being able to find any cards, you sure come up with a lot of cards there, a lot of decks of cards. Part of the
say,
show
Right
here.
one. Yeah.
Well, like I said, for what I've been paid to entertain, I can't afford very many tricks.
Yeah. And you didn't even need your clamps, did you?
No,
Yeah.
I didn't.
That worked
Jonathan
out.
did such a good job on that.
Glad it worked.
Is Pat Mullen still here? Stephanie was looking
Who's
for Pat Mullen. She's still here.
I enjoyed it tremendously.
Yeah, just I mean, Stephanie wrote it. Just she wants her to come out of their office.
Thank you, Teresa.
Well, I'm glad I wanted to. I didn't know about your other one a couple of months ago. Wish I'd known about. I knew about that one afterwards. So I'm glad y'all called, and I'm thrilled to be here.
I don't do these things very often. I used to do them pretty regular in Houston with our
Yeah.
lunch group down there, but
Yeah.
I haven't done too many of them up here. But I do them every once in a while just
Yeah.
to keep in practice. And
Oh yeah.
just
That's great.
entertain people.
Absolutely. I'm glad you did it.
And as you can tell, I get pretty shaky and nervous.
I get shaky and nervous when I get up in front of people too.
Well, I do that, but at my age, I am getting shakier and shakier, and I don't do little things like hooking up wires and things like that when I did for 42 years. So.
Yeah. It's all right.
Well, come by and see us sometime,
Oh, absolutely.
and bring Becca by.
We're trying to figure out a good time to do that.
Well, come
Seems
by
like there's
anytime
something-
and visit with us,
We definitely will.
and you'll take care of this.
Yeah, they'll get that taken down.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pat, you want to take some of these cookies for Betty?
No, I don't think so.
You don't want him out?
No, sir.
This is not fashioned.